Welcome, Mr. Cederlöf in Germany.
Thank you.
You are the National Coordinator against Prostitution and Human Trafficking in Sweden. You have a model in Sweden. How does this model function?
We are talking about our criminalization of purchase of sexual services. It means very simple. We have criminalized the demand side, the buyers, the clients.
What were the reasons that you started to do this?
It started maybe 30 years ago. It's a lot of women's organizations who were talking about this link to men's violence against women, gender equality, etc. And in 1999, we had this legislation.
Has this legislation changed something in Sweden?
Yeah, I think it's a very normative legislation. I think people's view on this problem, on this issue, has changed over the years. Some of our polls says at this time that about 70–75% of the Swedish people accept this legislation and think it's a good thing.
So it has changed actually the mindset of the Swedish young people?
Yes, especially the young people, I would say. But also we have had our first human trafficking protocol in 2002. And when we had that, we could also see that this is a tool for us to fight human trafficking. So it was not the intention with the legislation to start with. And that's very important also to say that we didn't have this legislation to fight human trafficking. It was a question about gender equality, men's violence against women.
Can a law really stop the desire to buy sex?
I don't think any laws could stop anything, in fact. I mean, we have laws who says that you can't kill another person. It still happens, and we had it for hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of years. So if we didn't have the problem, we didn't need legislation. It can reduce, of course, and make people understand the problem.
What is the punishment for a man buying sex?
Normally it's a fine, but it's possible also with imprisonment up to 1 year.
So how many men had to go to jail already?
No one so far. I think we will have it in the future, of course, when you can identify that the person did know that he was buying sex from, especially from a victim of trafficking.
How did the opposition react to this law?
It's always a discussion, I mean, and with all respect, I mean, if the persons I met over the years, I've been working very operationally since just before we had the legislation in '99. If I meet a person who has the possibility to choose between education or prostitution, I respect that. But these are not the group I'm working against. But what I've seen over the years in operational work, in direct cases, in contact with persons that I met in street prostitution, this is not the case. These persons mostly comes from very poor circumstances in the countries of origin, and they don't have the possibility to have scholarship or education. They have very small possibilities to have a decent job, which I think prostitution is not. So that's why I think I'm quite clear with myself, also in this discussion, but also at the same time you need to respect people. But I think also we are discussing about a majority and a minority group here. It's a very strong voice from what I would say is a minority group, the pro-prostitution groups, that think they are talking about sex workers, etc. But what I have seen over the years, I can't say from my point of view that they are the voice of the persons that I meet in these situations I'm working. So still, the democracy is a majority and a minority group, and I go for the majority.
Do you have some advice for people that want to go for the Swedish model? How should they start?
I think Swedish model or not, but I think it's really important for people to understand from which circumstances the people that we are meeting, because in all countries in Europe, I would say, it's not the national girls from our own nations who is into it. It doesn't matter if you have a legal prostitution arena or if you have, like in Sweden, that you have criminalized the demand. It's the same girls showing up. Legally in one country, not legally in the other.
Do you still find human trafficking in Sweden?
Yes, but less numbers than I think we should have if we didn't have the legislation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.